This is Tank's Vlog, October 20th, 2019, wrapping up the day in sports. I remember once Mike Francesa, the sports pope, he declared that Jose Altuve is not even close to being one of the best players in baseball. What can he do, he said. What can he do? Ask the Yankees. What he can do is kick the ever-loving shit out of the Yankees. You know, Mr. Sweaty, Mr. Chapman there. You know, he did that smile on his face. You know, that tells you right there. You know, sometimes these guys just don't really care. You know, there are probably 20 devastated players on the Yankees roster, but at least Aroldis Chapman, as soon as that ball hit the well, it was, if there was no wall there, it would probably be still traveling. I mean, there's been rocket ships launched by NASA that didn't go as far and as fast as the walk-off home run that Jose Altuve hit against the Yankees today to send the Astros to the World Series. No. I mean, really, did they serve lunch on that flight? I mean, I think Aroldis Chapman was already going to Jamaica when he was on that, watching that ball sail. He was already in vacation mode. I mean, that's a spicy meatball that Aroldis Chapman hung over there. That's a spicy meatball. And Brian Chapman, or Brian Cashman, I should say, still don't think the Yankees need a pitcher? I think they need a pitcher. You can't bullpen a bullshit game. And of course, the Yankee bats pretty much went silent. I mean, Edwin Encarnacion, terrible postseason. Terrible postseason. And it was the next man up just didn't work anymore. Ironically, I think the one player the Yankees could have used in this series is Mike Tauchman. You can't be a slave to the home run, and the Yankees are a slave to the home run. And that's why the Astros are a better team. They had the two great pitchers, Verlander, who the Yankees did beat in Game 5, and Cole. And now we get to watch the Astros go to the World Series and absolutely kick the ever-loving shit out of Nationals. I personally think the Yankees are the second best team in baseball. I think the Yankees would have won the World Series had they gone to the World Series. I think the truth is the ALCS was the World Series this year. And I think that basically the National League is garbage. Face it. Think about this. Everyone talked about the Mets getting back into playoff contention. They would never even been close to playoff contention if they were the American League. Look at the wildcard teams in the American League compared to the National League. I mean, we got the Indians missing the playoffs with all the wins they had. And the Indians won more games than the Nationals did, who had the wild card spot. And the top wild card spot in the National League. Okay, you had the Dodgers, who were good, and of course they choked. The Braves had a decent season, of course. They got slaughtered. But go team for team. The Twins won 101 games and got swept by the Yankees in the ALCS. 101 games. You put the Twins against the Nationals, no contest, Twins win. Put the Twins against the Braves, Twins win. Cardinals, I don't give the Cardinals a shot against the Twins. Nationals, Twins. Maybe the Dodgers, if they put Clayton Kershaw in the bathroom, but even the Dodgers would have a tough time beating the Twins. That is how much better the American League teams are than the National Leagues. So maybe Yankee fans could take solace in that. By the way, Yankee fans, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. On this date, 15 years ago, you choked. Oh, did you choke? I mean, you had a 3-0 lead against the Red Sox. Mariano Rivera, on one of the few times he faltered, allowed them to come back and tie Game 4. They came back and tied Game 5. And by the time you got to the Bronx, you had Kurt Schilling with the bloody sock, and you didn't even think about bunting once. And, of course, Game 7. Kevin Brown on the mound. That was almost Tom Glavine-like, as the Red Sox won Game 7 15 years ago to reverse the curse 10-3. Check out the story at Barstool Sports and Sports Encyclopedia where Sports History lives. Devils actually finally now won 2 in a row. I've been to the last 2 games, of course. I was too tired to do a vlog on Thursday night, and of course Friday night I tend to take off. But I was there today, and Jack Hughes, not too far from where I'm sitting. Of course, I sit in the upper section of Prudential Center, and was right in front of me with Jack Hughes. I got a perfect view of that first goal. And that's all the Devils scored today. All they needed. Mackenzie Blackwood actually played well. Mackenzie Blackwood played well in the last 2 games. So, personally, I think it's time for Mackenzie Blackwood to be the starting goalie. He is clearly better than Corey Schneider. But beating the Canucks 1-0, I mean, that 0-4-2 start is just terrible. It's still weighing on them. They still have a long way to go before they could actually consider themselves back on track. Especially when you have teams like the Canadiens already with 10 points at 4-2-2 after beating the Blues 5-2. It was the Maple Leafs in overtime over the Bruins 4-3. The Avalanche buried the Lightning 6-2. The Stars, who themselves have been off to a disappointing start, scored 2 goals in the third period and 2 goals in the first to beat the Flyers 4-1. It was the Vegas Golden Knights with Marc-Andre Fleury haunting his old team again, beating the Penguins 3-0. Brock Nelson scored 33 seconds into overtime to lift the Islanders over the Blue Jackets 3-2. It was the Coyotes over the Senators 5-2. Panthers beat the Predators in a shootout. Kings over the Flames 4-1. And the Sabres doubled up the Sharks 4-3. Sorry, I thought that was 4-2. But it was the Sabres 4-3 winners. Sabres off to a great start, 7-1-1. But they were off to a good start last year, and it's been a long time. It's been almost a decade since they've last made the playoffs. Let's take a look at the top 25, if you would. Bum 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 boom. Bum 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 bum. Top 25. Okay, we had some action on Friday night with the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State crushing Northwestern 52-3 in Evanston. Not been a good year for the Wildcats. They've become back to being the Wildcats with a Rutgers-like 1-5 record. Speaking of Rutgers, they lost to Minnesota at home today, 42-7. Golden Gophers are unbeaten and only ranked 20th. A little low, don't you think? And Minnesota should get a big boost in the Big Ten West with Illinois getting shocked and stunned by Wisconsin. Wisconsin getting stunned by Illinois 24-23, or win by for the Illini. Another Big Ten action, top 10 action. It was Penn State beating Michigan 28-21. Where fell to the victors, that is, fail once again. They didn't win. Jim Harbaugh can't win the big game. He is a failure. He should be fired soon. It is a shame that Michigan can't win a big game. Bad news for Alabama. Tua Tagovailoa was sent to the hospital, leg injury. Don't know the seriousness of it, but Alabama did beat Tennessee 35-13. Without Tua, that could certainly make things a lot more interesting. And Joe Burrow had a record day to lead LSU over Mississippi State 36-13. It's Clemson, 45-10 winners over Louisville. Oklahoma beat West Virginia 52-14. It was Florida over South Carolina 38-27. Georgia bouncing back from a loss last week, shut out Kentucky 21-0. It was Auburn slamming Arkansas 51-10. In the Battle of the Pacific Northwest, it was Oregon over Washington 35-31. Utah beat Arizona State 21-13. Texas survived a scare at home against Kansas 50-48. It was BYU upsetting Boise State 28-25. Baylor over Oklahoma State 45-27. SMU 7-0 for the first time since the Mets are winning World Series, beating Temple 45-21. I mean, SMU people may not remember them, especially some of your younger folks out there. SMU was a powerhouse in the 80s, but they were as corrupt as hell, and they got what was called a death penalty, where the NCAA made them shut down their program for 2 years. They ended up having to shut it down for 3 years because they didn't get enough people to play in the third year, and they have never recovered. Never recovered. They were a team that would have been a Big 12 team. And said they ended up in Conference USA or the American Conference. It's like they've been adrift for 35 years almost now. Cincinnati over Tulsa 24-13. It was Vanderbilt upsetting Mizzou 21-14. Iowa over Purdue 26-20. And Appalachian State crushed Louisiana Monroe 52-7. I don't need to tell you anything much about college football. Those are the only games that matter. Let me see. That Duke game sounded pretty interesting, though. Duke, Virginia, which was won big time by Virginia, which could help get them to the ACC championship game. Meanwhile, Florida State lost to Wake Forest. Shame. And also in Florida news, it was Miami of DU losing to Georgia Tech. Boy, I remember when those teams were always in the top 10. Now they're both 3-4, and the only bowls you could probably get are like those 6-6 bowls. Me playing in like the Belk Bowl. The Belk Bowl. Who wants to go to the Belk Bowl? It's almost better not to go to a bowling than to go to the Belk Bowl. Ugh. Three stars, of course. Jose Altuve, Shane Buechele, who led SMU with 6 touchdowns today. Marc-Andre Fleury of the Vegas Golden Knights is our 3rd star. Today's birthday shout-out goes to Keith Hernandez, turned 66. And, of course, I mentioned earlier, on this date, 2004 ALCS. Check out the story of Barstool Sports and Sports Wikipedia, where sports history lives. Good day.